Southern Hood Blogs. In the morning, we go for a nice little walk through some country roads here in my neighborhood. And we're going to talk today about how much it costs to get our house repaired. We bought it for $65,000, but it needed a lot of work. Yes, I am a little tired. It doesn't look like much of a climb, but it's a slow and steady climb up this hill. I've never lived in the countryside before, and there's a few things we have to get used to. One of those things is scorpions. There's a lot of scorpions here. We got there a hawk. We got a hawk up there on the tree. So there's a lot of things we've had to get used to that we're just not used to. It's just been a lot of getting used to. I mean, it's a whole different world out here. I've lived in Florida for the last 20 years in the city, so being in Alabama in the countryside has been very different. And there's a lot of getting used to. And most of all, it's been really incredible to see the nature and the beauty of this place, but there's a lot of getting used to. It's a totally different road out here. There's lots of getting used to. Our property is the smallest one in our area with just 1 acre. Most of our neighbors have several acres, if not dozens. Back in Florida, there were days where we would spend $70 a day on food. That's not even possible here in Alabama. I mean, the most we've spent eating like in really fancy restaurants downtown has been something like $36 for both of us. Labor, however, and stuff we've done at the house has actually been much more expensive and complicated than in Florida, believe it or not. It just seems like people here are not too interested in working. It's hard to find workers here. That does seem to be one of the negative draws about Alabama, is that even though housing is affordable and food is affordable, getting things done isn't affordable. Hiring people is one of those things that's just like a little bit frustrating. You'd think, having a lower income than Florida, people here would want to work more for less, but they don't. That is a giant spider. Well, the first thing we had to do, and the most important thing we had to do, was put a roof on the house, and that came out to about $8,000 because we actually paid a little extra. It was actually $7,000, but we spent another $1,000 putting up a porch in the backyard. We wanted a back porch. We have a front one. We wanted one in the back, and the back door had some water leaking into the house. So because somehow whoever built the decking in the back didn't make it level grade, and we ended up having to put a porch and a little roof over the deck so that the water wouldn't splash back into the house. That ran us an extra $1,000. So the total roof repair came out to $8,000. So we paid $65,000 for the house. We spent $8,000 on the roof. We spent nearly $1,000 installing a water heater between parts and labor. That's the water heater. Some plumbing had to be changed to it, and the labor came out to $8,000 for the water heater. We also had to spend $1,300 on a new washer and dryer. No, we could not find anything cheaper or used. We just had to end up buying it new. It seems like finding used things here in Alabama is almost impossible. So we had to buy it new. That came out to a grand total of $1,300. Then we also needed to buy a refrigerator. The refrigerator came out to just under $1,000. We also had to do some painting. Painting materials were $200. The roof damage caused some drywall issues, and it was $460 to redo and match the drywall. The first quote that we got for that job, believe it or not, was $3,000. The guy wanted to redo the entire inside ceiling of the bedroom because he says it's the only way we could match it up. So this guy wanted $3,000 to do that job. Well, I found a guy who did my water heater, and he actually came through, and for $460 he repaired the damage to the drywall. And I painted it last night with white ceiling paint, and you cannot tell that there was ever any damage to that ceiling. If you look at it, even if you knew the damage was there, you can't even see it. So that came out to $460. There was a giant landscaping pile on our front yard. Now, initially, I thought it would cost me at least $100 or maybe even more to get rid of it if I took it to a landfill. Well, it turns out you can just burn your own garbage out here. Everybody does it. So I decided to just burn my own garbage, and that came out to the grand total of $0. Let's say $16 because we had to buy some stuff to burn it with. While the natural settings of Alabama are beautiful, one of the downsides are that people actually litter quite a bit here. In this roadside ditch, even though it's a beautiful setting, there's a dishwasher, a mattress, and a door in that ditch. Getting that dishwasher out of that ditch will be a nightmare because it's about a 6-foot drop. At first, I'm going to say that it is very intimidating to live where I live because it's very backwoods and country. I'm not going to show you guys the houses for just respect and decency. I'm kind of showing you guys the more rural part of the drive, but I mean, we don't have any rebel flags up on our street, but there might as well be a few. It's definitely very southern, mobile homes. It's really intimidating, and as you can see, it's like a dead end type of place. So definitely, the first time we drove through here, at first I was like, you have to drive through the suburbs, and it's like really nice big houses, you know, like brand new communities. So I'm thinking, okay, we're gonna be living in a brand new like neighborhood. Then you take a back road and it all changes. And when I first drove into here, the first thing somebody was gonna say to us was, "Y'all ain't from around here, are you?" And that's pretty much what happened. We met our first neighbor, and he was like, "Yeah, you guys are not from up north, are you?" Of course, he didn't say it that way. He used a little bit different of a language. One thing that I find odd about Alabama, and I've said it's a better place for minorities than Florida, I believe, because here you have equal opportunity when it comes to employment. Because it seems like the people that are backwards, they're not the ones who are hiring people. They're the ones who are kind of living in a trailer out in the woods, collecting beer cans or something like that for a living. So like the people that are backwards, you're not really gonna. And by the way, I was surprised that our road, at least the entry to our community, is paved. That's one thing I've noticed about Alabama. It's like, yeah, they'll pave stuff in the middle of nowhere, which is kind of odd because you'd think this would be in disrepair. But it's not at all. You will meet people, and the first thing they'll tell you is, "My name is John, and I'm a racist." And I'm not exaggerating. I've actually met people, and I don't ask them about what they believe in. They just tell you, "Hey, my name is John, and I'm a racist." And it's just like that. And it's just a blatantly open type of thing where, thanks for letting me know you're racist from the start. That it's gonna make things a lot easier for me to understand. Well, one of my biggest fears about living out in the woods was being isolated from the flow of money, but that's actually not the case because I'm actually in the suburbs. So even though I'm in the woods, I'm like in the woods right outside the suburbs, so I can always head back into the suburbs like effortlessly. Like if I'm driving, it's like a 5 to 10 minute drive to be in the suburbs where they have like Paneras and Walmarts and everything you need. So it's not far out. It's actually really convenient. So I have like the real country setting, like out in the middle of nowhere. But then I'm only like 5 minutes from like a gas station or something. So it's been really nice balance between, yeah, I'm out in the woods like I always wanted, right? Like I am out in the woods like I always wanted, but I'm only 5 minutes away from like a Walmart or a gas station or something like that. So it's not as, it doesn't feel doesn't feel as kind of isolated like you are once you're in my neighborhood. It feels like you're 100 miles from anything, but you're not. You're like 3 miles from everything. So, I didn't want to be isolated from the flow of money. Like, I wanted to be out in the woods, but I didn't want to be isolated from the flow of money, from jobs, from gas stations and stuff like that. And I think we got a really sweet deal here in finding a place that has that country feel, but doesn't have the biggest problem with living out in the countryside is being isolated and being really far away from pretty much everything. So I have this one person on YouTube who has been posting my address on the internet like as if it's really frustrating because like part of moving to Alabama was giving myself a little bit of privacy, and he's telling people that I'm lying about where I live and all that. And actually, the thing is, I have 15,000 followers on this channel. I think I have like 50,000 on my other channels. So in total, I'm at like 65,000 followers on YouTube. So if I live in a town that's got 5 or 10,000 people, it's just too much for that town to. It's too much of a burden for a really small town or a small community to have this YouTuber that has all this fame move in. And I don't want to do that to my town. I kind of want to give my town respect and dignity. And so it's about me because I want privacy. But it's also about like the town where I live in, where I don't want to be like already. I don't know if you guys noticed this on some of the, like already I moved out here, never lived out here. I've lived in Florida. I've already run into people who know who I am, and I'm just like, how do you even know who I am? Like, but our channel does get, like all our channels combined, get something like 1 million views every 2 months, if I'm not mistaken. So that's 500,000 views a month. And I've been on YouTube since 2012. So there's millions of people who know who I am. And, well, there's only 300 million people in the United States. I can't even imagine what it would be like to be these YouTubers that have 1 million followers. I mean, they can't go to their grocery store without somebody recognizing them. It's crazy. So yeah, I've already ran into people here who they know who I am, and it's like already just being who I am is a problem. So why would I go on the internet and say, hey, I'm this big YouTuber, I moved to a town of 5,000 people, let's just put this town on the map? That's not cool, because it would just bring more. And that's not what people here want. They want their peace and tranquility. And I don't want to be, I want to earn my stripes. And this one thing about Alabama is you really have to earn your stripes. You're not just going to start here having respect. You have to really earn your stripes. And that means that anything that you do that is out of the ordinary can kind of pretty much or put you on a blacklist of people that are not cool. Like walking around with an iPhone recording at 6 a.m. while everybody's sleeping. So weird stuff like that can actually kind of turn people off in a weird way. So we're not trying to do that. We're trying to just kind of keep it low key and try not to be a burden to my neighbors, basically. So overall, I think I spent something like between $76,000 to $80,000 to get the property livable the way I have it now, which left a $20,000 surplus when we moved out of Florida. We bought a $12,000 SUV. Oh, we bought a security system for the house. We bought a $12,000 SUV, which would leave about $8,000 left over, which I'm still wondering, what did I do with those $8,000 already? It's just, money moves so quickly. You know, that's another thing. If you're thinking about moving, you'll run into expenses that you had no idea you were going to run into. For example, a $500 deposit for their water company. It was like, or the electrical, I can't remember which one it was. One of the two, I think it might have been the electrical, was a $500 fee. The inspector was like $300. So you're going to run into fees, expenses that you may have not thought of, that are just going to pop up in your face and say, hey, take care of me. And there's probably a few other things we should eventually do to the property. You guys heard a gunshot right there? So somebody's shooting. It's already Saturday today morning. Yeah, today's Saturday morning. No, Sunday morning. So some people here on the weekends, they start shooting pretty early. So you hear gunshots every single day here, and it's actually normal. It's cool. It's just a way of people. There's not much to do out here in the woods to begin with, but it's also, I think, a way of like asserting your dominance over your property, where you're letting everybody know, hey, you know, there's firepower out here. So I don't really know how the psychological process of it is, but you do hear gunshots every single day, especially during the weekend. I think throughout the day during the weekend, you'll hear at least 20 or 30 different types of guns going off if you pay attention really carefully. I have never owned a gun, and we did have to buy some personal protection, which to me is kind of, it's something I've never really, the deer got scared. You can just, when you scare the deer, you can just hear them, boom, gone. So the deer are usually out here in the morning. They're really hard to see. And as soon as you'll just hear them mostly before you see them. But yeah, having to get personal protection was kind of one of those things that I had to do, and well, it wasn't really like I wanted to. It's kind of like that you have to. You really need it out here. Everybody is packing heat out here, so it's another thing with crime and safety. It's like you'd have to be out of your mind to try to like do anything stupid out here, because everybody's packing, really, like everybody's packing. So as far as like, you know, say Alabama has a lot of crime and all that, I think you would have to be completely out of your mind to try and do something stupid around here. So I don't know. I actually feel safer here than I did back in the city, just because my neighborhood is so isolated, and I already know who my neighbors are and all that, and like, I don't know, but I don't really feel like there's higher crime here. Alright, that's it, guys. I hope you guys liked the video. Just giving you guys a quick summary of how much it costs to get our house livable and how much it actually costs, because yeah, we paid $65,000, but we're closer to $80,000 after we did all the things we did, which is still pretty good because the market value for that house is probably $104,000. So I've already made $24,000 in equity, you could say. So I can pretty much retire for the rest of the year in a sense. I'm already sitting on $24,000 profit on this house, because it was appraised at $104,000 by the person who sold it to me. And he says, if you want to sell this house already, I'm like, I'm good, man. The market here, if you go on Zillow, on Zillow.com, you can look at the market temperature. And the market here, and it's like at the extreme end of hot. Prattville, like all this area of Alabama, the market is extremely hot. And I'm looking at Naples, and it's actually cool back in South Florida. So it seems like the market has cooled in South Florida, and it's actually warmer in North Florida and some parts of Alabama. It seems like people, and also I've noticed a trend, even though, you know, the realtors in Florida, they're telling you that the market's popping and we're selling houses and we're doing all these incredible things. But if you actually look at it, home prices in Millbrook and Prattville have like skyrocketed since 2012, and it hasn't stopped. And if you look at areas like Naples, since 2016, it's been flat. So home prices in Naples since 2016 have been a flat. They're not going up any higher. So that's a definitely a bad thing for investors looking at Naples, looking at Miami, looking at Naples, Bonita Springs, Marco Island. It's a flat. And as a matter of fact, in Marco Island, it's actually started to drop. So average home prices are dropping, and the market temperature is actually cool. So with all that said, I think looking at appreciation, I'm in a much better position now than I was before. And there's probably a few other things we should eventually do to the property.